All right, so today our agenda is going to be to how Swun math and distance learning come hand in hand. We're going to look at the website resources that we have available for parents and students to help support their instruction at home. We're going to share with you the daily math lessons that students can access from grades kindergarten through grade 8. The many different homework assignments that you can use for your review, for reteaching, or for enrichment. And then if your students need and require additional support in the foundational skills, where they can access beyond the basic facts practice that they can do at home. All of our resources are found online through our website, www.swunmath.com. If you want to access any of our lesson design videos or any of our homework assignments through your students' classroom, you simply go to the tab that says Students, and you click where it says Classroom. You can get that login information from your student's teacher, and or at some point we're going to have the tech issues worked out where they can use their single sign-on, their class links, to be able to access it through their apps portal. So they click on Students and they click on Classroom. The teachers on their end are going to assign their kids access to assignments, or they're going to give announcements through the teacher classroom by clicking it under Classroom. Our daily lesson videos are available to students in all of our lessons. They go hand in hand. They are created by coaches and our curriculum team together to help provide kids with a clear and concise lesson design overview of the lesson for the day. The videos can be used as a way to front load the information to students before teaching a lesson. It can be used as a way to recap a lesson that was taught that same day. Or if students just need a refresher on the content for the day, they can play the video and they'll be able to get a thorough lesson all over again. And those videos are anywhere from 13 to about 17 minutes long. And I will show you a sample of one of the videos today. The Beyond the Basic Facts practice is also found on swunmath.com in the tab that says Facts Practice. Online practice is not adapted. It's not going to change as a kid gets better with the facts. It's going to be up to us, the parents, to monitor that and make the adjustments ourselves. So there's two forms of practice. One of the forms is a self-selected practice, and another one is assigned by the teacher. So the one that I'm going to show you today is the one where you can self-select the level that you want and the facts that you want to practice. And as a parent, if you see that your kid is doing remarkably well with those facts, then you increase and move on to the next fact over, or you select a fact range that they can practice. And I'll share that when I get to the website walkthrough.
Thank you.
Okay. Some suggestions for at-home learning, and this is suggestions from that all the coaches and our curriculum team came up, and we all agree that these are things that are going to help support your kid at home. You want to make sure that you encourage the use of only their computer during class time. Their cell phones can be left somewhere else because it becomes a distraction. They may not be focused on that day's lesson. We highly also encourage you to have your students turn their video on. It's very difficult for teachers to get the lesson across or even read nonverbal cues, right? If your student is not understanding something, they can usually show with their facial expression. And you know, it's hard for people to gauge, or teachers to gauge, if students are really understanding if that video is not turned on. Likewise, you know, we understand that parents get busy and you may not be able to monitor your kid while they're on the Zoom calls. So the video on helps teachers understand, helps teachers see who is actually in front of the camera, in front of the monitor, paying attention to the lesson. Okay, make sure that your child understands how to use the chat room, right, and is clear about the teacher's rules and expectations. If you're unclear about the rules and expectations, please reach out to your teacher, a gentle email, just to ask again about the rules and expectations. They'll be more than happy to answer that for you. Okay, have a work area in a place where you can monitor your child or children if need be. And then one good suggestion, and I know that this is can get pretty expensive, but using headphones to help drown out the everyday noises, especially if you have multiple kids at home and they're all using devices. Giving them their own set of headphones will help them stay focused on the task at hand. Okay, so the links that I was showing you guys during the presentation are the facts practice and the student classroom. So I'm going to start with the facts practice first. So you click on facts practice, and this is the one where parents get to self-select. or students get to self-select what specific facts they want their kids, what type of support they're going to get, and which kind of operation they're going to practice. So first of all, I'll show you the drop-down menu. These facts are your normal facts. These are all positive numbers. If you click on integers, if your child is studying integers, it'll make one of the facts or both of the facts a negative or positive integer. And then here you can have the option of timed facts practice, where you set your own time, or timed integer practice. Okay, these are all self-selected. With facts practice, you have the capacity to, or either of the ones, you can either practice addition facts by clicking on the addition. You can practice subtraction facts by clicking on subtraction. And as you can see, when you get to subtraction facts, we're practicing it just like when they learn it in our Beyond the Basic Facts instruction. They learn it as a fact family or an inverse operation of addition. They can practice multiplication. And both addition and multiplication practice using the commutative property. And it cues the kids in because, as you can see here, this fact here is colored yellow. This is yellow here. This one is colored this bluish purple here. And the factor or the sum or the answer goes here in the pink box. Like subtraction and division, they both work the same way, practicing with the inverse operation. So in order for them to answer this, like, students would need to type in the quotient, or sorry, the answer to the multiplication equation in the pink box, followed by one of the factors, and ending with the other. Likewise, starts with the same. And then here are where it tells you which one goes where, right? The 3 goes here and 1 goes there. So you can select, let's say for example, your student is already done and really well with the 1s facts. They can move on to the 2s. They can move on to the 3s. They can do 1 fact at a time, or you can practice a fact range from 1 to 5, and they'll be able to practice all those facts. So these are all self-selected. And this is, you have the option of choosing what kind of operation your child wants to practice or can practice, and what facts you want them to practice. To access the other parts of the website, you can go from here directly, or I'm going to go back just to swunmath.com so you can see the other parts. So the other thing that I was going to show you is the Swun Classroom. You go to Students, and you go to Classroom for now, and it's going to take you to a login screen where you type in your student's username and password, and it brings you to this dashboard here. If your child has any announcements, it'll be shown here under the announcement section. If the child has any assignments, it's under the assignment section. So for example, my first grade student needs to work on homework, Unit 1, Lesson 7. I click on this binocular for the action, and it tells me here, I need to complete homework, Unit 1, Lesson 7, and the due date was last month, but these are all samples. Your teacher's due date would be updated to whatever your teacher wants, when your teacher wants your child to complete their assignment. To access that assignment, I simply come down to resources. So Unit 1, Lesson 7, I go to Unit 1. I go down to Lesson 7. Now, if my child is in a dual language program, I can access the homework in Spanish. If my child is in the English only program, they can go to English. And here is where I have the homework. Now, let's say my child does not remember how to do the work. They can go to our new lesson videos. And I'm going to show the lesson video for you right now.
It's math time with me, Zero. This is what we're going to learn today. Let's get started. Problem of the day. Your teacher will show you a problem and have you do one just like it. Pause the video and resume when you're ready.
Now, that part your students can fast forward through, and then they get started here. Here's where lesson opener is, where your lesson gets started for that day.
Hello, little mathematicians, and welcome to today's lesson. Let's take a look at our objective to see what we will be learning about. Our objective is, today I will organize, represent, and interpret data using picture graphs. The only key word we have for today is picture graph. This is a graph that shows us information using pictures. These are the steps that we'll be following in our lesson today. I'll show you the steps as we work through the problems together. Now watch me solve a problem. Listen to my thinking as I solve it out loud. I want you to think about why my work makes sense. Let's take a look at our first input model. Our directions tell us, analyze the data by answering questions about the picture graph. The first one talks about our favorite geometric shapes. Our first step is represent each vote with a picture. They have already represented each vote, so we can move on to step 2. Our second step is record the total. We can start with the sphere category. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spheres. So we will put a 7 in our total. Next is the cone category. There are 1, 2, 3 cones. So we will put a 3 in our total. Our last category are hexagons. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hexagons. So we can put an 8 in our total. Our last step is answer the questions. Now, before we take a look at our questions, let's get rid of some of these dots so we can have a clean slate. Our first question asks, how many people chose cone and hexagon all together? Let's count it out. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 shapes. There are 11 shapes between cones and hexagons, so 11 is our answer. Our second question is, how many people chose sphere and cone all together? Let's count. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shapes. So we will put a 10 as our answer.
As you can see, the video does a really good job of guiding the kids through the skills that they're going to need in order to solve whatever homework assignment they may need. If for some reason they were sick and they couldn't attend that class that day, they can watch the video and they're able to at least be exposed to the standard that they were supposed to have learned. And they can play the video as many times as they want to get a full understanding of what today's content was. The video goes through the entire lesson design. I'm not going to show the video in its entirety, but it'll go through both of the input models, which are both of the opportunities for kids to learn from the teacher. And then it goes through both of the structured guided practices where the kids actually get to interact with the video. I'm going to go ahead and show you the structured guided practice so you can hear what I'm talking about.
Look at our first structure guided practice. Our directions say, analyze the data by answering questions about the picture graph. The first one we are going to analyze is shapes in a basket. Let's use our steps to help us fill in the graph. Our first step is represent each vote with a picture. Can you tell someone what our next step is?
So you heard that ding, that bell. That bell there is super important, okay? You want to make sure that students know that when they hear the bell, they're going to need to pause the video and talk, not just think about how to solve the problem, but talk through solving the problem. If you want to support your child and sit next to them during this part, your child's supposed to tell you what the step is and how to execute that step. So for example, if my child was sitting here watching the video, they would say, step 1 is to represent each vote with a picture. The steps are going to be here under steps, or they may be moved at different places, but the steps will always be displayed for you in all of our videos. So they say it, and then they press play. They watch the teacher execute that step.
The total. We can start in the rectangle category. How many rectangles are there?
So they pause the video. Okay, how many rectangles are there? I'm going to count. Let's count how many rectangles there are. There are 7 rectangles. Okay, let's see if I'm correct.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rectangles. So we will put a 7 in our total. Our next group are squares. What are the total amount of squares?
So the bell's interactive. The kids need to be trained on knowing that the bell rings, they pause it, and they interact with the video. So they're actually learning, not just thinking about the math. They go through 2 structure guided practices. And then it also engages the kids into doing the final check for understanding. So once they're done with 2 input models and 2 guided practices, then it becomes their turn to
There are 1, 2.
It's their turn to now show what they know. So just like in our normal lessons, they go through a final check for understanding where they're going to get to show what they know. So here they can pause while they work on the problem. They can work it out. Okay. Once they're done with the first problem, it'll get them through the second problem as well. So
here's the answer and how I solved it. If you didn't get the same answer as me, pause the video and check your work.
So they pause the video, they check their work. If they got it correct, great. If they didn't get it correct, then they can correct their mistake at that point. It'll go through something called the error detector. I'm going to show this part here. This part's really fun and enjoyable. It's for kids to start, developing that mathematical thinking. Let me rewind a little bit. So I'm giving the option of pausing the video, but they're supposed to analyze what they see here, and they got to look for the error. What is the error that they see? Do they see an error? Do they notice an error? If not, then they continue watching the video. If they see an error, they're supposed to articulate and verbalize that error out loud. And then they press the video. So here they will either be confirmed or they would then be corrected on what the error should have been.
Alrighty, math detectives, let's take a look at this student's work. We can use our steps to see where this student made their error. Since the survey is already filled out, we won't have to worry about step 1. Our second step tells us to record the total. Let's see how the student did. By looking at the picture graph, it seems the student used step 2 correctly. They counted and recorded all the correct totals. It seems that our third step is where they made their error. The student got all the questions correct except for the first one. Let's see what they did wrong. The first question asks, how many cylinders and spheres are there all together? It looks like the student counted the cylinders and cones instead of the cylinders and spheres. The correct total for cylinder and spheres isn't 11. It is actually 8. Now that we fix this question, our whole problem is correct. Now it's your turn. It's time to work on our student practice.
So on our procedural lessons, the students have 6 practice problems to do on their own. On our conceptual lessons, the video would end after the closure, which ends after that short error analysis. And I'll just fast forward through the closure part so you can see how they're recapped.
Talk to someone out loud or write it in your journal. What did you learn today in your own words? How did you know your answers were reasonable? How did you check your work? Today you learned something new. You did awesome, problem solvers. We'll build on this tomorrow. See you later.
So your children have access to these videos for all of trimester 1 for now, but my company is taking it upon itself to create a lesson video for each and every one of our lessons. So for units 1 all the way through unit 11 in grade 1, or all the units in kindergarten through 8th grade, there's going to be a video attached to that particular lesson. So moving forward, you're going to have access to those videos. For those parents who are Spanish speaking, you want to support your kid in that exact same lesson, but you don't understand English, you can go to that exact same lesson, unit 1, lesson 7, and you can look at the Spanish strategy video. It's not the exact same as the one that you saw now, but it's the video that we've had there from in the past. And I'm not going to show you those. You guys can access those as well through our student classroom.